Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Cartoon Conversations, where me, Elliot Catch, and my best friend Jordan Stein, not actually my best friend, but, I tell him that because, he's the one with the programs here, so I have to make him believe it. We all go and talk about stuff in terms of cartoons, and we deep analyze them and wonder about whether or not they are really up to snuff as how much we believe they are. So, right now we're going into depth for Justice League Unlimited, which, in my opinion, was one of the absolute greatest freaking superhero cartoons of all time.
I would go the greatest.
The greatest. Well, then we start going to conversation about like what actually makes a superhero cartoon, but that's a whole other.
That's a good point. Maybe not waters we should wade into.
Not at the moment.
Yeah.
After a couple of drinks, then.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen us before, which is perfectly understandable, we're not really funny. We go about by each episode so far into the series. This is episode 3, where we'll be analyzing everything that happens in the episode, have a special question of the day, and try and talk about what points we really enjoyed and what points we thought could maybe have been done better.
Yep, that's about it. So I'm going to do our episode breakdown of kid stuff, the 3rd episode of Justice League Unlimited, and just a heads up, I recently read a wonderful book called The Mists of Avalon, in which Morgan Le Fay, who's one of our bad guys, is referred to as Morgase. So I'm going to accidentally slip into that once or twice. So.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm gonna. In all of my notes, I wrote Morgase.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's how I think of her. Because of the book I just read. So. It's a wonderful book. You should all read it. But all my notes. So I'm going to have to, on the fly, change it to Morgan Le Fay. Because that's how the show refers to her.
On the fly. Yep.
Okay.
Right. What was she? She's Merlin's sister, or?
She's Merlin's... It depends on the story, but she's usually Merlin's daughter or granddaughter or something like that. And Arthur's sister.
Okay. Wouldn't that mean that they were... whichever. Regardless. Okay. So, episode analysis right now.
Alright, so...
We start off with Morgan Le Fay and her son, who gives a shit, going off to go...
His name is Mordred.
I forget his name,
and he's like the chief villain in Arthurian myth. He's kind of important.
Yeah, he is.
And he's also our chief villain in this episode, so...
He's so peevy.
I actually liked him. Yeah, I thought he was one of the better parts of the episode. We'll see.
They interpret. Fuck it, whatever. How they show him, but I don't know. I really, his voice annoys me. So it shows them in the beginning. Oh, Morgan Le Fay also, by the way, in the beginning of the Justice League, the original series before this one, she was one of the main villains. Actually, gallivanting about, really pissing people off, and mucking up one of the other characters, who was the demon Etrigan. Or what was his name in Human? It was like
Jason Blood.
Jason Blood, right. Who is one of my favorite characters.
He's such an interesting character.
Yeah, he doesn't get that much.
He doesn't get much in this episode.
Yeah, in this episode.
I have a theory on why he's in this episode, like an in-story theory. We'll talk about later.
Okay. I always just assumed because when it's something magic related, and Mordred hated... No, not Mordred. Mordred hated Etrigan. So, to make him as, humiliated as possible is probably his good dreams.
Oh, my theory was that he saw the wave of magic coming, and he used some magic of his own to defend against him, but it didn't completely defend against him, and that's why he came in as a baby. Because it was last second. That was my theory.
All right, so what happens is in the beginning we see Mordred and Morgan Le Fay are obtaining some kind of crazy magic source. They call it the First Magic. It's an amulet, and she gives it, Morgan Le Fay gives it to her son to allow him to finally become the king that she's always dreamed of him becoming. She has a very big motif with trying to obtain royalty and to create, this legacy for her son because of how she viewed King Arthur,
Well, she, in the DC universe, actually overthrew King Arthur.
Right.
And it was his fault and it was her fault that Camelot, this beautiful paradise, fell.
Right.
And that was the height of civilization for 1,000 years.
And then it fell, so...
And then it fell, thanks to her.
Not much happened after that with that. So he obtains the amulet. Fantastically, it shines some freaking good magic all up in here. And she's like, okay, now we can do all this good stuff. And you see Mordred looking at the amulet, and he's clearly got some wicked intentions going up in this. And so he declares he's finally stronger than his mother. And comes in and just shoots some insane wave of magic. This creates a giant bubble that just overcomes the earth. It starts sweeping over the land. And
okay, can we talk a minute about the scenes we get of the world? So, first, we get a classroom. Teachers handing out homework, whatnot, writing on the board, subjects. And there is let's see where we are. So, there's a chalkboard and a globe and all the normal things you would expect in the classroom. But there's also a framed portrait of George Bush.
Really?
With an American flag behind him. You can go back and see it.
I didn't notice that.
In the right hand next to the blackboard, there is a framed picture of George Bush.
All right. I'm going to go look that up, but we can keep talking.
That's a hilarious, fantastic touch.
I want to go see that.
I don't know why the animators put it in there. I think it's probably just an inside joke. But
I don't know, maybe they like George Bush.
But yeah, maybe they like George Bush as well.
I would assume not.
I would assume not.
Profession.
But especially considering where they go with this show. But continuing on.
Hold on, yeah. All right, yeah. Oh, that was a cute... Oh, wait, yeah. Holy crap, it is.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a picture of George Bush in there. Okay.
Are you sure that's George Bush?
So, and then in a really weird moment when the teacher disappears, the class cheers.
Well, of course the class cheers. There was a joke about homework.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a stupid homework joke.
Yeah, it was a stupid joke, yeah.
When you think about it, that's really disturbing.
Well, they didn't know what was going on. All right,
yeah, but when she disappears, the assumption is dead. This is the DC universe.
They're kids. Their kids are watching this. All right.
I think it was fine.
Oh, it was hilarious.
But it's just kind of horrible if you think about it.
So the purple magic wave sweeps over the countryside, and you see it.
There's a couple more scenes, like the classroom scene,
It starts sweeping, and it passes through people, but it only the adults disappear, is what's happening. Clearly, the kids are being left behind, but every single adult is being just vanishing.
And now we cut to our heroes for the episode.
Yes.
Superman is fighting Blockbuster. And it doesn't go too well for Blockbuster. You see Wonder Woman's fighting Cheetah, and she knocks Cheetah away. Batman is fighting Deadshot.
Which is kind of cool. I really like Deadshot's design in this one.
It was cool, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely much different from how he normally is portrayed, as being he's very muscular in this one.
Yeah.
I almost thought he was Bane at first.
Yeah.
Which would have made sense,
That would have also been a cool choice. But let's see. So Batman's fighting Deadshot. He's almost defeated, but a brilliant move with the Batarang defeats Deadshot.
Yeah. Oh,
then Green Lantern is fighting Copperhead.
Yeah.
And Copperhead is the perennial whipping horse of this show.
He's the ass fish of villains right now. So.
He's like, you're not going to take me down easily. And then he jumps at Green Lantern. Green Lantern makes a shield. He hits the shield, and he's defeated. And he's like, that was easy.
Yeah.
Which was just a great quip by Green Lantern. I love Jon Stewart. So then they're all tossed in a circle and they're lassoed by Wonder Woman. Green Lantern, in a great moment, he makes a pun and then apologizes for it, saying he's been hanging out with Flash too much.
Yeah.
Which I just loved. Because it shows how they don't just work together, they also like each other. I imagine Jon Stewart and Wally West going out for a beer together with their buddies and just being like a normal thing that they would do.
Yeah.
So that was cool that they socially hang out with each other.
Well, you'd expect someone like the Flash to do so. We actually see, what was it? Batman and Superman sitting in like a cafe, except they were, Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent.
Yeah, you're right.
Was that in the first one? Regular Justice League? Or?
Actually, now that I think about it, aren't people suspicious that Bruce Wayne is friends with a random reporter on the Daily Planet?
I feel like he's rich. He can do whatever he wants.
That might be the take of the entire DC universe. Like, why is Lex Luthor not in prison? He's rich. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that might explain a lot of the DC universe.
Definitely rich.
Okay, so... Where are we? Okay, so then the bubble of light we mentioned earlier, of magic, I should say, encompasses the Justice League, and they all disappear into this other dimension where it's full of floating rocks and nether space. It looks like the space in between dimensions. And they're all confused. They wonder if they're in hell. The villains wonder if they're in hell, and then they see the Justice League. And they're for the first time in their life, they're probably pretty excited to see the Justice League, because that means they're not in hell.
Yeah.
So,
his Copperhead was screaming. What did he say? We're in the bad place?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. We're in the bad place. And then he sees the Justice League and he's like, oh, thank God.
Redemption has come. We're in the bad place.
It's like, why are you here? That was great.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So
they're just like...
The villains are worried. Green Lantern says, don't worry, he's dealing with the situation at hand. But Batman is looking a bit farther out. He notices that there's no children. And then that's when Morgan Le Fay floats in to explain that Mordred is responsible for this and proposes the solution, that the Justice League be made 8 years old to defeat Mordred.
Well, she doesn't say that immediately. It was really funny at first because we get Jon Stewart, who immediately doesn't like what's going on. She says that she has a solution, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with this, really. Or he says, I don't like where this is going. He doesn't want to be a kid. And right away, we see why. But
yeah,
it was so funny because how different he is as a kid. Compared
I loved how different he was as a kid. That was my favorite part of this episode.
Yeah. So Morgan Le Fay creates magic, obviously, shoops around the Justice League, only the 4 of them, though.
Yeah.
And transports them into the real world. Not that weird, crazy dimension. Puts them back in reality. Except they're kids. They were not 8 years old. I don't think they're 8 years old. They look more like teens.
They do look more like teens and they act like teens. Well, they really act like that point where the girls have hit puberty but the guys haven't.
As we could see with Wonder Woman.
Which 8 is a reasonably fair approximation of that.
Of it all, and I love
That's why, I liked. That was a nice little touch that they made her taller than all the boys. Yeah. I mean, she's always tall, but that's the age where the girls are taller than the boys, and the girls are kind of interested in the boys, but the boys aren't interested in the girls yet.
Oh my God, it was so funny though.
Yeah, so the fact that they made Mordred 8 was a nice touch because they could do stuff with that.
Right.
I still think it would have been better if they were adults, but we'll see as we go forward if I like what their choice is.
Okay. So they come down as kids, they come back, and we get a little bit of time to sort of understand what's happened to them emotionally as well as physically.
So
Batman kind of looks, he keeps saying all the dark stuff, but it's adorable because he's like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
Green Lantern immediately says that he needed glasses when he was a kid, and so he guesses he needs them now. And then immediately a pair of glasses forms on his head. I'm saying the word immediately so much. Yeah. Hit me the next time I say it, I swear. This part was kind of interesting, wordplay aside, because he actually says that he didn't intend for that to happen. He says it just happened. He thought about it and it happened. Remember?
Well, that's how the ring works. You imagine something and then it happens.
But if you recall, the ring kind of works on imagination. It works on willpower. Yeah.
Why don't they just give them to kids?
What do you imagine? What?
I thought this episode brought up a good point. Why don't they give power rings to kids? Like,
why don't they give power rings to kids?
I
don't know.
I mean, creativity is your great weapon. That's the whole point of the Kyle Rayner stories.
Yeah.
That he's such a great Green Lantern because he's so creative. that he might not have the courage one normally has or the military experience like Jon Stewart has.
Right.
But he is going to hit you with a
Bullshit
T-Rex
plot on
with a machine gun on its head and
Oh my
a
God.
Triceratops for a right arm.
That was super cool. So the point about the fact that he said that he was surprised how he had gotten the glasses on was, you see later on, he's become, as imaginative as he was back when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Instead of the stern army man that he is today.
I wonder what he was like before and after the Marines.
Probably like what he is now. Before, he was probably very, a little bit more what's a good word? He was probably, stern and strict, but not to the point that he is now.
I don't know. I kind of wonder if this is
He was like a
hinting
free
that there's
spirit or
something
something?
in Jon Stewart's past that he saw something in the war and that changed him.
It changed him, man.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, he could have been really fun-loving and then he saw something in the war and he became somewhat serious.
Yeah.
If you think about the types of war that would be in the DC universe...
Like the next episode.
What's the next episode? Let me look.
With Hawk and Dove.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's like one of my favorite episodes. I'm going to have so much fun talking about that one.
Yeah, we're going to have fun with that one.
Jeez.
So, we're going to have... The war in the DC universe is pretty bad. And
Yeah.
soldiers, it can't be fun. So he might have come back less than he came in. And that experience shaped him and made him a great Green Lantern. But it also...
Kind of stripped away his personality.
Yeah. And that might be why he has some trouble with relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Later in the show. It builds a character, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
It adds depth to his character, and it makes his moments of levity about that coming out and finding himself again.
Right.
I don't know if this holds together. But why don't we look at it in the next couple episodes?
Right. To see whether... Yeah. God damn it, I got the hiccup.
So now we jump back to Mordred, who had previously declared Funzyland as his kingdom and turned it into like an Arthurian dystopia sort of thing.
Right.
It was kind of cool. It was kind of like a Fright Fest in Arthur and a Renaissance fair combined.
Yeah. The first thing he does is make some crazy jagged, what was it? The guillotine.
Yeah, the for fun guillotine.
Yeah.
For kids use only.
It's the super fun guillotine.
The family guillotine. Only $6.99 at your local Costco.
What was that thing, the family hacksaw?
Yes, the family hacksaw.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, that one actually exists.
Yeah.
So,
It was beautiful.
thank you, David Letterman, for that. Now, I think this might be my favorite scene of the whole episode. Mordred holds court, like a sort of ancient king. And he's bored, he's not having fun with it, but he sits and he helps every kid who comes to him.
Right. Which was weird at first because, when he has all this power, why does he, go, God damn it. I'm gonna go get a cup of water. You keep talking.
Okay, so I thought it was really great because it showed that he actually wanted to be king. He's still not a good guy. He's still not a nice person. But there are worse villains in the DC universe because he takes his kingly duties he does not take them lightly. Because, what is it? A baby needs help. He gets her a milking cow. A kid wants some toys. He gets him toys. And it was very responsible. And
she said that she was hungry, and so she goes like, her
sister was hungry, the baby. So he gave her a cow so that the cow could be milked. That was brilliant.
Yeah. Well,
It was an excellent example of leadership. Because now she won't need to come back. If he'd just given her formula, She would have had to come back every day.
I don't think it was like an example of leadership. I think what it was trying to say was that he didn't understand what like compassion was, because he clearly didn't give her something she would be able to use immediately. But
No, she just needs to milk the cow.
She doesn't know what the hell that is.
That's what the internet's for.
They don't have the internet in this kind of age.
Why don't they have the internet? Whatever. I think he could have showed her how to milk the cow if he really needed to. I think he was showing good leadership there. And I think that's really interesting because it shows how, even though Morgan Le Fay has been raising him to be this spoiled brat who feels like he's entitled to the kingship, she still taught him responsibility, and that becoming king is a lot of work.
I don't think that was it at all. I think that was just like the medieval answer, you know? The peasants are hungry, they need cattle.
Yeah, no, it was the medieval answer, and that also shows the weakness of his character. That the world has moved on, and he hasn't. Which is a key theme of those two villains, Mordred and Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah, most definitely haven't moved on.
I still think in his own medieval way, he is the good guy of his story.
What do you mean?
That you could reframe this whole episode and shoot it with Mordred as the hero. And
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
What I'm saying is that Mordred believes he's a good person. He believes he's right. And it's important to him to believe that he's a good person, and he's willing to inconvenience himself to be a good person in his mind.
I think he was just assuming the role of king.
Yes, but there's two parts to the role of king. There's the responsibility part, and then there's the fun part. And he doesn't do the fun part so much until later, after he's done the responsibility part. And I think that shows a remarkable level of maturity for an 8-year-old.
I don't think so. I think he was just he's been raised like that his entire life of becoming a king, you know, by Morgan Le Fay. It was pushed into his psyche where, like, that's the first thing he does is he assumes the role of king. All right, what do I do as a king? I gather subjects. He amassed himself with the kids. Remember?
But wait, subjects just means he needed them to bow down to him. It doesn't mean he needed to actually help them with any of their problems.
But what does a king do? That's what he was assuming the role of. He didn't want to do this.
But the part of the king's role he assumes is the responsibility part. It's not the fun part.
But that's what kings do. That's the thing.
But that's not all of what kings do, and that's not what most kings would do first.
That's a part of what kings do, and I think that's what the thing was with Morgan Le Fay, was pushing this into his mind, was, you know, making...
But that doesn't change the fact it's part of his character, and it's a good part of his character.
I don't think he was doing it because he wanted to. I think he was doing it because he had to. He wasn't being righteous or good.
Who was forcing him to?
Himself.
But that means he has some moral compass there.
No, it wasn't a moral compass. It was the idea of being a king. Like, this is a thing that kings do, and I want to be a king. It's not responsibility. It's more of like he felt as a punishment, you know? Like, this is just something I have to do. He didn't want to do it at all.
Of course he didn't want to do it, but he felt a responsibility to do it.
I don't think it was responsibility. I don't think he felt like he had to. Well, not he had to because it was the right thing. I feel like he had to because it was just none of the kids would have shut up unless he had done it. He could have killed all those kids and made his own robot subjects or whatever.
Yeah.
But instead, he conquered all of the people there, and he made them, you know, be his thing. So, like, this is what a king does. He gets his subjects, and he keeps them there.
I just don't see why that doesn't make him better than your average DC villain.
Because of the fact that he doesn't have his own purpose. He has someone else's purpose. He's still very much a kid. And you see later on when the girl is crying, he has no idea what to do.
I didn't say he was good at being good. I'm saying that he made an effort to be good there and to be a good king. that it's important for him to
I
succeed.
think it was
And that shows some moral character.
It wasn't an effort to be good. It was an effort to be king.
Okay, we're just repeating the same arguments at this point. We should move on.
Right.
So, okay. So the Justice League, or at least the 4 members we have,
Right.
fly in to stop Mordred holding court. And remember how I said he made those toys for the other kid? So upon seeing them, he turns them into giant robots, and they fight. What?
Nothing.
And they fight the robots. And what I think is fascinating is Batman actually does the best of all the 4 heroes.
What do you mean?
Well,
I would disagree completely on that one.
Well, Batman tricks Mordred into destroying his, and he never really has a serious scrape with it.
I don't think he tricks him. More like it just like happenstance.
I think that was a plan by Batman. Because we see Batman create several plans about this. He still has his remarkable intelligence. Kind of like in Gotham, how the Bruce Wayne character is just so smart and so mature.
Oh, right.
It's that same sort of intelligence.
Then, in this one, you see him very much desperately trying to return to being that kind of character. You know, he talks all the time about being, he's dark and brooding. He tries to keep it like that, but he's adorable and tiny, so it doesn't work.
But it doesn't change the fact that he's still very smart.
Yeah, he was very smart. We see that, but because he's a child now, it doesn't come as easily.
Yeah, no, you're right. He's less intelligent.
Yeah.
He is not the Dark Knight. So I think Batman was the most effective.
I love that scene with Wonder Woman.
The scene with Wonder Woman is fantastic. We will get to that after we get to the other 2, though.
Yeah. Batman is in a tizzy. He's, at the moment, being held up by one of the robots.
Wait, but that's after he saves Wonder Woman's life.
What happened there again?
Well, she was about to be pummeled by the robot, and he jumps on its head and distracts it.
Oh, yeah.
And because he exposed himself to risk to save her there, it grabs him by the cape, and it's about to finish him off. When Wonder Woman just punches it and destroys it.
Oh my god, she literally just punches it right in the knee.
And it's an awesome scene, because it shows how even when they're 8, they still care for each other.
They're not 8.
Even when they've regressed mentally. They still have that heroic instinct that Wonder Woman might be on the ropes versus this fighting 1-by-1, but if someone is in danger, she kicks it up a gear. It shows that heroic spirit that's so innate to these characters.
She kicks it up a notch.
Yeah, So, there's also a Green Lantern scene where he's being chased, and he's way too excited about what he's gonna make.
Yeah.
And then
Green Lantern is talking about.
And then he goes to Batman. Batman's like, just make something, and he makes a boxing glove. After talking about like a T-Rex and a machine gun and a spaceship and all this stuff, it just makes a boxing glove. I love that. But after all this stuff, that's all he makes. It was so Green Lantern. That this is the guy who's going to make shields, he's going to make beams, and he's going to be very effective.
It was very childish. Like, that was the thing. He was very childlike in that, what do I make? Oh, I have so many things that I can think about, and, he can't even decide it. It was so cute.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
And let's see, Superman, let's see. And then Superman also defeats his with a little bit of... I think he gets an assist from Batman. I didn't write it down, though.
He lasers it.
You're right, he uses heat vision. So, we also forgot that after Wonder Woman saves Batman, she catches him as he falls and then flirts with him. Yeah. At which point he does the most 8-year-old thing ever, and he walks away embarrassed and hurts her feelings. So, after defeating the minions, this is the point where they normally at the end of the episode, they gang up on the villain and they defeat him. Mm-hmm. But in fact, they're totally outclassed. They're soundly defeated, and he just drops them in a dungeon. They're not worth executing. He's gonna have his monster do it. Red glowing eyes appear in the darkness, as we cut to commercial.
So he throws them down into this little pit, creates this like kind of force field around them so they can't fly out, they can't punch out, and they're all, nervous and scared. And then out of the corner, a gate opens up and these devilish red eyes appear, and then they cut to commercial and they come back and you see, the stomping form coming forward, and you realize it is Etrigan. And before, at one point, he was taken control of. He had his mind, I guess he was being sort of possessed in a way. Etrigan itself was being forcibly controlled. He didn't have control over his own actions, and he was being like a slave in a way. So we're thinking, oh, did it happen again? And so we see, Etrigan slowly come out, and it pans out to the shot of, we realize he's a baby.
Yes.
He's little baby demon Etrigan, and it is adorable.
It is really adorable.
Oh my
and
God.
So they have a fight scene, and I love this because the Justice League knows Etrigan, and they refuse to hurt him. But he doesn't have that problem, so he's kind of knocking them around.
In a way, like a little ball of fire can do. He starts breathing fire on them, but it's just like little kind of shots. Hits Superman, who's like not ready for it or whatever.
Yeah, and then
doesn't he jump on Batman?
Yeah, he knocks them all around. And Green Lantern, I think, might do the most creative construct of the whole series here.
Oh yeah, he makes a little playpen for him,
complete with a Green Lantern mobile.
Yeah.
Which is completely ineffective.
Yeah, he puts him in a little cage, but as you can tell, the Etrigan demon baby is so powerful, he can climb out of the cage.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
That was great. It was so witty.
He's like 3 feet tall, and the little baby's like, rah, and then he just like climbs over it.
Yeah. So.
And then Wonder Woman comes in to save the day, clearly, by scolding him.
Yes.
As like the big sister character, which is fantastic.
It was great. And then she burps him. And he's pooped his pants, and they leave Superman and run off.
That's a problem for Superman.
This looks like a job for Superman.
To freaking change the diaper of the demon baby Etrigan.
Hey.
No, they even say that. They said like that's a job for Superman.
Yeah. So.
What was after that? Then they come out. They manage to escape the pit.
Yeah.
Mordred is keeping himself occupied with his subjects again, trying to get them to like respect him in a way. He's trying to get the kids to I guess like look up to him.
To be subjects, yeah.
Yeah, to
he's trying to fit them into this medieval mold that he wants.
Yeah. He wants to rule, and these kids are going to start.
Yeah.
So they come out and I almost forgot. I wanted to say, we missed the scene where in the very beginning, I just wanted to point this out because I forgot how funny it was. When in the very beginning, when they finally get sent back to reality because of Morgan Le Fay, you see the silhouette of their shadow.
Yeah.
Their big demeanor, their hardcore Justice League demeanor, and then zooms in on the fact that they're freaking teens.
Yeah.
That was adorable. Okay.
So.
Right then.
So Mordred is leading the fun upstairs, and people are playing with swords and the family guillotine and other medieval stuff.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman gets up, does her best big sister impression, and says she's going to find their parents and gets them out of the way, which was a great concern for civilians sort of moment. Mm-hmm. And then they find Mordred sleeping, and I love this moment because Batman. What?
I think he was listening to music. He had headphones on.
Did he?
Yeah, which was like weird.
Yeah, that's a weird touch.
He was playing a video game the first time we saw him.
He was. So he accepts some of modernity, but yeah, no, that's a kind of strange moment. So Batman comes up with, I think, what might be the best plan of the series. We'll have to follow that as we go forward, but it's way better than Captain Adam's plan in the first episode.
Well, I mean, like, what was his plan again? Because I don't remember it being so fantastic.
It was, okay, let's get the amulet first, and then we fight him.
Dude,
and he split up the teams.
Fantastic.
And put himself and Wonder Woman on top of the cliff for defense, and then he had Green Lantern and Superman go down to steal the amulet using Green Lantern's power.
Right, and then they had that little moment of bickering where they were trying to go back and forth to create the teams.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman is clearly still smitten with Batman and is not hiding it. Like, she's not being very subtle. She wants to go with Bruce. But Superman wants to go with Wonder Woman, but doesn't realize that Wonder Woman wants to go with Bruce because she likes him.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic and hilarious.
That was one of the few times I actually thought the 8-year-old thing kind of worked. Most of the time I was like, this is not Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is a delightful, strong woman who would not do this childish idiocy.
She's so cute. Well, I don't know. I feel like it's in a way very similar because, she's Wonder Woman and she does what she wants.
Yeah.
But like in reality, this is just sort of like an extreme version of it because she's a kid and her emotions are like on flare.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
So they sneak up on Mordred. Batman gives the signal, which causes Green Lantern to. He uses like a claw thing, like in Toy Story 2.
Yeah. He tries
the claw.
And then for some reason, they're getting it, and it's really close, but for some reason, like, little Sally, who gives a crap, comes out of nowhere and is like, what are you guys doing? And it wakes him up, and they freak out, because, what is this little girl doing here all of a sudden?
Well, we couldn't have the episode end.
Yeah.
It is the reason.
It couldn't have been that easy.
Yeah, I wish they had had a better plot contrivance than that, but it works. It gets the job done.
It ties into how they beat him in the end as well,
It gives us our fight scene.
Right.
So, then they do that, the plan fails, and they rush him, and then that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Which was a good part. It was nice that Batman had a backup plan. It wasn't a brilliant backup plan. It was from the Captain Adams School of Planning. But...
Well, that, I thought, was, actually, it was a much better thing. Well, not a much better thing. Sorry about that. That was a much, like, it really showed him sort of learning in a way. Because he was about to tell Green Lantern off. Because he was like, what's the plan? What do we do? Green Lantern's like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And Batman's like, no, you know what? Yeah, you should go wild. He told him, like, because
he uses what he has at hand.
Yeah.
This is excellent planning by Batman. I like that it has a 2-part plan and it uses its resources well. I thought that was very smart. So, they try and get the amulet from him, but it doesn't work.
Mordred becomes a giant.
Mordred becomes giant.
Yeah, they belittle him constantly, saying he's just a little kid.
No, that comes later.
Well, no.
No, Mordred supersizes himself, and they run, taking the girl, because they have to, rescue her.
Yeah, no, but he supersizes himself because they call him little. They make fun of him throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, right, they do make fun of him through there. I thought you were...
calling him precious, them saying that he's just a kid, he's not a king.
So, there's a short fight scene where he animates some gargoyles to chase him, they defeat him.
Green Lantern keeps making some crazy stuff showing like how much of a kid.
The flying surfboard and all sorts of other things, yeah.
And he makes a giant robot to go.
The giant robot's later. So.
Yep.
So Mordred animates the gargoyles, it chases them, and they get back to the castle. They regroup, and Batman makes another plan, where basically Green Lantern goes wild and distracts him. And then Superman comes in and steals the amulet. Another good plan by Batman. And this time it actually works. And there's an awesome scene where Green Lantern is in his giant mech suit. Mm-hmm. And supersized Mordred is facing him. And they're just staring down at each other on top of a drawbridge on top of lava.
Right.
Which is just such a nice touch that... Of course Mordred would make his moat of lava. Because he's 8. And that's what an 8-year-old thinks is awesome.
Yeah, molten lava.
Yeah. And of course it's not really hot. It stays molten. Because you know what? He's 8. He hasn't thought that through. I loved that. So, Jill loses quickly, but he only needed to distract him long enough to get the amulet. They play keep away before they toss it to baby Etrigan, who destroys it by biting it.
Yeah.
But Mordred isn't destroyed. Because normally this would be the part of the episode where it's over and they destroyed the amulet and everything goes back to normal and Mordred will be our villain next week. But they don't go with that. He has absorbed enough of its power that he can continue to be a serious villain.
Right.
So Mordred then misses the Justice League and prepares to kill them. Sorry, threatens the Justice League and prepares to kill them.
Yeah.
Then the same little girl gets in the way and comes up to him saying she's scared and she wants her mommy. He says, "Trust me, you're better off without her."
Yeah.
Which is so an excellent example of just taking your own experience and generalizing it and the dangers of doing that.
Yeah.
So, if you have a mother like Morgan Le Fay in the DC universe, you're probably better off without her. But this little girl probably has a wonderful mother who she would be much better off with.
I don't know. She was crackhead. She was addicted to heroin. Some crazy stuff happened. I don't know.
It's possible, but it seems unlikely. So.
These are totally legitimate generalizations and not in any way false.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
she starts crying. The little girl starts crying, and he can't get her to stop. He's like, stop doing that. Why are you doing this?
And this shows his medieval limitations because a medieval girl would never cry.
Medieval limitations. This is his limitations as a person.
It is also his limitations as a person. Yes.
Yeah, he is very much. He's still a kid.
He's still a kid.
Yeah, he's been living forever, but he absolutely cannot deal with and or understand, like other people's emotions.
He has the narcissism of a child.
Yes. Super very much
so. So Mordred, after he deals with Crygate.
Crygate?
Yes.
Ooh.
Turns onto the Justice League.
Yeah,
and basically he just picks them all up with magic and hangs them upside down.
Well, he does that first.
Yeah.
Remember, he does that first, and then she comes in and starts crying because he says that he's going to just kill them both, kill them all. He picks up a sword, turns it into some kind of weird, spiky battle thing.
Yeah.
And he's going to behead everyone. And then the little girl comes in, starts crying. He doesn't know how to handle it, and the Justice League start picking on him.
Yep. And basically, in a really funny spot, they're completely calm about their impending execution. And they just use the time to taunt Mordred in an 8-year-old way.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great. This is the one part, I think, where them being 8 really works.
Yeah. Where they just get inside his head by being petty.
In the way an 8-year-old never could. Because Batman, I feel like, would be smart enough to say the right things in this situation if he was an adult, but I don't see any of the others doing that.
Right. I liked it. They all really just started driving home the fact that he was a kid, he can't do everything, and he's not old enough to truly understand what's going on. They're like, don't send in a kid to do a man's job. Is what's his name said. I think Green Lantern said that.
Yeah.
Maybe. I forget. Whatever. Fuck it. But so, they're berating and belittling him. They're being as condescending and as picky as possible because that's what kids do. And it's getting him, They're getting his goat like it ain't no thing. And he freaks out and says, I have the power. I can become a man if I want to. He uses, some crazy light show and apparently breaks his mother's spell, which gave him eternal youth. And he forces himself to grow up, which is exactly what the Justice League wanted.
Yep.
Because now
his spell backfires on him.
His own spell shoots him right back into that other crazy dimension.
In the other dimension, Morgan confronts him, asking him if he realizes what he's done.
Hey, you didn't call her, what's her fuck?
I have not called her Morgase the entire episode, yes.
Yeah, good job, man.
So, he confronts him and asks him what he's done. We go to the little girl from the zoo crying, and we find out that she's been reunited with her mother as the spell reverses, and Morgan renews the Justice League back to their original ages. Although in a nice moment, she's reluctant to do it. She knows she's probably going to have to fight them again, and she doesn't really want to.
She says a bargain is a bargain. She doesn't say a deal's a deal. She says a bargain is a bargain.
Another great medieval moment. Yeah, nice catch.
Yeah, I love that. I actually looked up the term for bargain because, like, I was trying to think if there was any, like, hidden meaning to the way she said it. But it was like, this was a steal in a way.
Yeah.
She was forced to do so.
So Morgan renews them to the original thing, and Wonder Woman had been holding Etrigan.
Yeah.
And so now he's in Wonder Woman's arms, and he just goes, "Mommy?"
Yeah.
Really lecherously.
He's giggling like he understands what's going on.
And she just drops him.
Yeah.
Love that classic Wonder Woman. It's like, I'm not gonna put up with your shit. Yeah. I like to think she like kicked him over too. Not like hard Wonder Woman kicked, like nudged him with her foot to get him away from her.
Something like that. Well, I thought he kicked her, or she kicked him for, for good measure.
Yeah. So Batman asks Morgan what happened to Mordred, and she explains that he is now he is now immortal, but no longer eternally young.
Yeah.
And we cut to him for eternally feeble and just tragically unable to move. It's really sad. For a person who did have some virtues.
Yes.
It was a nice ending that showed the consequences of Mordred's actions. And I really liked the fact that they didn't just make him, oh, he's going to come back, he's still a threat. They're like, no, he screwed up and he is paying the consequences.
Decrepit man.
Yeah. So, I loved also that the consequences were age in an episode that the theme was age.
Right.
I don't know. I thought there was a nice symmetry to that.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot about, him getting his comeuppance. He wanted to become older, and this was the price.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There's a saying, be careful what you wish for, you might just get it.
Yeah.
So.
To his elders, and that fucked him over, so he got what he deserved.
Yep. So, now we have our closing beat of the episode where Wonder Woman says, hey, it was kind of fun being a kid.
Oh, yeah.
To Batman, clearly, like, very flirtily.
Huh?
And Batman says,
yeah,
I haven't been a kid since I was 8 years old.
Yep. Which is just like such a Batman thing to say.
Which was harsh.
Like one day.
It made me dislike Batman in that moment.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was like, Wonder Woman is making a move here.
It was not even making a move. It was just trying to be like small talk in a way. Well, I guess you could say that in itself is making a move.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't like a I'm gonna kiss you now move. It was like a
he's just like, hey, we got.
I am establishing a rapport move.
Yeah. Like, everyone had fun when they were a kid. It was nice, Even Batman wasn't that bad at the moment. But then, immediately, as soon as he's an adult, he goes right back into being that guy.
And this is, I think, one of the weaknesses of Justice League Unlimited, which is a fantastic show overall, that they never really develop Batman's character emotionally past... My parents were dead when I was 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, for instance, in something that was also in this same universe. So it's the same Batman. What was the movie where he falls in love? The Warner Brothers movie. It was a spin-off of Batman, the animated series.
I don't know.
It was the best of the animated movies. Well, he falls in love with this girl and he considers giving up the role of Batman. And then he finds out the woman that he loved was a supervillain.
Oh, right.
She was like a Grim Reaper sort of figure.
Some Phantom movie, and she has that claw, that hook thing.
Yep.
Right, I remember that. That was like a really big. That was like a big deal on Cartoon Network. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah. So,
It's a really awesome moment with the Joker.
yeah, there was a lot. That was a really good one. Maybe one day we'll do that when we finish Justice League.
That'd be fun to go through, like, all the other.
I would love to just do the whole DCAU.
Yeah, definitely. Although, going back to I guess Batman's weakness in character.
Yeah.
In the first Justice League, the one before this.
Yeah.
They do sort of show more of his character. Besides just my parents are dead.
No, they do a better job in Justice League. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. And in this, we saw it in the last episode too.
Okay.
That Batman comes down to my parents were killed.
Yeah. Back then again too.
And right. I think no one's denying that's a big part of it.
Right.
That's a big puzzle piece. That's a corner piece.
Yeah,
but there are other parts to him. And they really developed them in other shows that are in the same canon. And I wish we got some of that in this show.
Right.
It's been 2 episodes in a row where I'm like, oh, we were so close to a great Batman moment. And then we went to just default my parents are dead.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
You're right, in a way, that is a weakness of Justice League Unlimited because of the fact that they have so many characters now. It's hard to sort of, I guess, give each one of them their time in the light.
Yeah.
Without, how can they make them really good? How can they give each character the time they deserve to really, flesh them out? Where instead, some of them just kind of get the things that we know them as,
Yeah.
We know Batman as my parents are dead, and we can relate to that. We can understand. Well, hopefully
can't relate to that.
Relate to that.
But we can understand it from having seen him.
Yeah,
in so many things,
so many times before. So you can relate to it in that sense, in the fact that it's familiar.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly hope you can't relate to it on that kind of level, and I'm going to stop talking about it.
Yes.
But in a way, having such a big cast hurts it if they can't, give each one that they're showing off, their time in the sun, the time that they deserve.
I think, considering their large cast, they do a very good job.
Yeah.
That they use, it's a show for boys, so they have to have lots of fight scenes, but they're not just mindless fight scenes. They develop characters during fight scenes. I was expecting that in this show, when I'm doing my write-ups of the show, I'm like, okay, this is a fight scene. I can, kind of skim past this. But then there's all these great character moments in the fight scenes.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta write that down. And it takes me just as long to write up the fight scenes sometimes.
Right.
Because I'm doing almost blow by blow, because you can read stuff into each blow.
Yeah. They have a lot of exchange, especially in this episode where you see Green Lantern rifling through what kind of thing he wants to come up with, where they show Superman, using his powers a little awkwardly.
Yeah.
He used a lot of heat vision because it was pretty much OP.
Yeah. The heat vision is overly powerful, and that's why Superman almost never uses it. Yeah. In fact, I think in Justice League, the only time off, like, the top of my head I can think of him defeating someone with heat vision is in the Justice Lords episode. Where the alternate Superman lobotomizes someone. That's the only other time.
Doomsday.
Against Doomsday, yes. That's the only other time I can think of.
I'm sure he used it against Darkseid, but that was because it was Darkseid.
But it wasn't like a finishing blow. It wasn't like a main part. It was just like part of the fight scene. He also uses it against Mongol in the last episode, but it was just like a one hit knocked him back.
Right.
This might be the only other time someone is defeated by heat vision, because it can do nothing but kill.
Right.
It is his most It is so powerful. It is rendered almost powerless.
Yeah.
In many ways, like Superman.
It's so good that you can't use it.
Yeah.
It's like
older Superman has the reserve and the discipline not to use it. But younger Superman is throwing it around because he doesn't yet have that control.
He was very childish in that way. Yeah,
He-
I liked that. They didn't really give him that much kind of time to shine in this episode
No.
because I mean, like the last episode was all about him, so
Yeah.
it's understandable.
Yeah,
but,
no.
Yeah, him as a kid.
Oh my god. There was so much great character development in the last episode for him. Yeah, it's a shame. If this was a Superman-focused episode, we could have done some really cool stuff about seeing how those two things compared and seeing maybe if the Black Mercy affected him in this.
He would have loved being a kid, I think. You know, they really gave more to like Wonder Woman and Green Lantern in this one.
Yeah.
It really showed how they are as kids compared to how they are now. While Green Lantern was really different, Wonder Woman sort of slipped into it immediately. You know,
Yeah.
she was so ready to keep being that crazy strong woman that she is.
Yeah, I did like that. I thought there were a lot of the Wonder Woman stuff I didn't like because they made her more immature than the other ones and they made her kind of boy crazy. But
I don't know.
on the whole, she was mature. She was still kind of Wonder Woman, and I did like that. So, do you want to talk about the big question?
Sure.
Do you think it would have been better if they were adults? How would you have had to rewrite the story?
Right. Yeah. If instead of just even if they were adults entirely, because when they turn to kids, here's like a bit more of an explanation of the question. When they turn to kids and they go and fight Mordred, they become children in every sense. You know, they become kids in mind as well. So, would the episode have been better if they had remained, you know, that kind of the stern understanding of an adult? You know, if they had kept the mindset of the superhero, do you think it would have been better?
Well, do you want me to start or do you want to start?
You can, yeah.
I'll start.
Okay.
So, by far my least favorite part of this episode was when they were being 8. When they were, you know, that scene where they're standing outside and you see the shadows and you're like, it's the Justice League. But then it's them as kids and then they have to make fun of each other. And the scene where Batman can't keep up with the other ones. He goes, it's not a race.
Yeah, that was
None of those jokes landed for me.
No, really?
I thought they were just very unfunny and I was very annoyed.
I didn't realize you were allergic to having fun.
So, that I didn't like. What I did like was I liked that Wonder Woman was still strong.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that Green Lantern was so creative.
Yeah.
And I liked how Batman, even though he was so young, still came up with great plans. And so I thought it was pretty mixed. But
yes.
I was going to say, but on the whole, I think it would have been a better show if they had made them keep their personalities. Because they interact with each other so well.
Right.
That I would have liked to have seen them have character development as themselves.
And so right here I'm going to have to disagree with you because I feel like what the intention of this episode was to show us a more human side to the Justice League again, you know? It shows us that they were kids, and as kids, you know, they have weird problems with their emotions, just like everyone else. And, you know, you gotta remember, this is a kid's show. So, the audience for this are also, you know, a lot of kids. Like, back when we were watching it, you know, we were kids. Would you have related to them a little bit more when you see this? You know, like,
I guess
Green Lantern was wearing doofy glasses at first. You know, a lot of people do that when they're young. You know, they wear the glasses that they don't like, and so he changes them immediately and thinks he's super cool like that. Wouldn't you have loved to do that when you were a kid?
I did love the glasses he changed to. They were like war goggles.
They were like overtly badass.
Yeah. But
so yeah, this gave the viewers, you know, even if you weren't a kid, it makes you feel a lot more relatable because you were at one point a kid. So you understand that, you know, these superheroes are also a kid. Even if it wasn't intentional, you still got this effect.
Yeah, I mean, I know why they did it. That is why they did it. You're right. I just the 8-year-old stuff all landed flat to me,
Right.
and I didn't really like it so much. And I really, really like these characters, and I thought it would have been great for them to be put out of their comfort zone and have this a story about them being out of their comfort zone.
Well, I mean, how much more out of your comfort zone can you get when they're all like little kids?
But it regressed them mentally too.
Yeah.
So
so their comfort zone changed.
So their comfort zone was what they were.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not going to blame too much. For instance, they would have had to rework the last scene, how they defeated the villain, because Superman, Green Lantern, and Wonder Woman, I don't think could have
goaded him on.
would have goaded him correctly. Yeah, Batman, as we'll see later, he can goad them like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the other three could have. So you would have had to rewrite that scene
right.
in a way that made it more Batman-centric, and I think would have hurt the show. I think that scene would have been very inferior if they were their adults.
Right.
But I think you could have also cut a lot of the stupid jokes, and maybe if you have an extra 2 or 3 minutes in the show, which that would basically free up 2 or 3 minutes, you could do a lot of character development. You could give a Superman a bit of a story in the show, or you could give Green Lantern something interesting to do. I don't know.
I don't know. I came in thinking that I wasn't going to like this episode very much. Like the last episode, I thought I was going to really enjoy it. But this episode, I had a reverse. And I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really did.
I kind of came in the opposite.
Yeah, I thought I was not going to... Because, like, I hate the idea of, like, crying kids all the time. It's, like, such a sad thing to think about. But, they really didn't... They weren't bothered by it as much as they could have been. It could have showed, like, all the kids getting, hurt because they don't understand anything, and it could have been, like, them screaming and crying over... They were having fun, like, kids. Immediately, they started thinking about that they're free to do whatever they want. Eventually, it would have gotten to that point where, they're freaking out about their parents, which is what happened. But they stopped it at a good point where it wasn't too excessive, The emotion wasn't on high. It wasn't all about that point. So I felt like they really did a good job with this episode in explaining a lot of things about the characters.
I think we learned enough that I was happy. I certainly have no great complaints about this episode.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to see Wonder Woman awkwardly hit on Batman a little more, and Batman having no idea what to do with it.
Hilarious. Throughout the show, that's going to just be a constant refrain. We want more Wonder Woman and Batman time.
Oh my god, I ship that so hard.
Oh my god, yes.
My number one ship.
Definitely the number one ship in the whole DC universe there.
Definitely.
So.
Alright.
Before we close...
Yes.
I actually have a suggestion. I was listening to this other podcast, and they have a list of every episode of the show they're reviewing.
Really?
And they rank them.
Oh.
Would you want to do that?
That's kind of cool, yeah. I was actually just about to ask, how would you rate this episode? It's kind of like the same thing.
So, do you want to just do rank 1, 2, and 3 from the first 3 episodes there, and then each episode at the end will...
Right. I don't know how I would say in comparison to the other 2 episodes, because I think those were pretty solid episodes. Like, even though I didn't really enjoy the second one as much, I understand it was still very good in terms of showcasing the characters.
So, my order personally is 1, 2, 3. The
first episode being the best, the second one being second, and the third one being the third?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that much in terms of things to compare.
Yeah.
So it's understandable that, they would sort of act like that.
Yeah.
They were all phenomenal episodes.
Yeah.
It was just,
So, do you agree with me, though, that that initiation, the first episode, is the best?
Yeah, I definitely think the first episode was the best.
Okay, so we have that slotted into our...
so good.
Yeah, sorry.
The first episode is fantastic.
It was really good. And so we have that slotted into number 1.
I think number 3 was a bit better than number 2, though.
Okay.
I liked it because it embodied a lot more as to like what this cartoon was trying to do. You know, like number 2 was very emotional, but it didn't give the viewer as satisfying a conclusion, or it wasn't as satisfying to watch as number 3.
Really, I felt that number 2, like every scene of Superman's fantasy, I was glued. I wanted, if that was a 3-part episode, I would have sat down and watched that.
Oh, it could have been a movie, definitely.
Oh my god. They should so make a movie of that. Like one of their direct-to-DVD for The Man Who Is Everything. And then they can get into the stuff, the comic covers that they didn't have time to do, that they just hinted at in Superman's fantasy.
Right. And watch more about him getting stuck in traffic in real time.
Yeah. I love that there's traffic in Superman's fantasy world.
Yeah.
That he designs a perfect world. There is still traffic. Dogs still poop on the floor.
Doing, though,
And
like, that's a human thing. It's a really human thing that he doesn't have to do.
Oh God, And this is the Superman that I love. Yeah. That Superman who is so human that he's actually more human than most people are. That even though he isn't biologically, he is in many ways more human than we are.
The metaphorical.
And he's the best of us. I love that. So, let's see. I feel very strongly that it should be number 2. And I think actually...
I mean, we only have 3 episodes so far, so...
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's going to be a big deal because I didn't love this episode here. And so when we put other episodes on there...
In comparison, yeah.
In comparison, I'm going to be like, this is better.
You're going to push
But I don't think it's number 2.
Because you're a dick.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that.
For being
so, are you okay putting episode 2, or do you want to fight for episode 3?
It's not like one of those... I mean, I will eventually, as we continue. But, we don't have nearly enough to truly...
All right. So you'll give me this one. Thanks. Yeah. I'll give you the next one, I guess. So...
It's not a system like that, man.
Oh, I was thinking I would have a Google Drive that's just open to the public, and it would be 1, initiation, 2...
Oh, that'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, and I'll put it in the show notes.
Way more technical than I'm ever capable of.
It's just a Google Drive document.
Yeah.
I'm literally just going to make basically a blank Word page and do 1.
I'm still getting over the fact that you put, like, square cubes in, like, the square slot, Trying to make pictures in one's a jar of preserves. But, okay, regardless of that.
Yes.
So, to wrap that up, episode 3 was so much better than episode 2. Everyone agrees. The end.
Do you want to disagree and fight for it, or?
I mean, like, I already fought for it. I showed you my argument. I don't think I need to go any further. Regardless.
Okay. So.
Fight on another day.
It'll be okay. So we have our list, and do you have any final words for us?
Stay beautiful. And if you weren't beautiful, become beautiful.
You're only one magic spell away, I guess.
Vampire blood. Drink it.
Yep.
It's good for you.
3 times a day.
Oh my god.
Okay. Have a good one, people. Bye.
See you around next time.
On Cartoon Conversation.
Yeah, that's what we're calling it.